YouTube live streaming. Now, I tried this once before, and if you were on that stream, then you know that I had a pretty bad echo, and I have been messing around trying to get that fixed, and I think I have it fixed. So hopefully you guys aren't getting the echo that you were getting before. Now, hopefully a couple people jump on here and I can actually check that. Again, I've done some testing on my end, and I've eliminated it in what I can hear, so hopefully it's coming through on the other end. But if we get some people jumping on here, again, I haven't advertised this because I really want to kind of smooth out the wrinkles and everything before I get into, really kind of doing this, promoting this officially and so forth. So anyway, if we get a couple people on here, we'll check and see if you're getting an echo. And then if we are, I'm probably going to go ahead and just stop the broadcast at that point, simply because it's so bad that it's unusable. Can't really get anything from the video if it's echoing like it was before. If it's not, then I'll go ahead and finish up. So in this live stream, what I'm going to be covering, I'm doing my weekly tutorial that I kind of normally do pre-recorded, but I do want to kind of start doing these a little bit more live. I won't necessarily do these live every single week, but I want to start doing more of them, simply because I like the interaction, and I like being able to answer questions that come up along the way. I think it makes for a much better tutorial. So hopefully we can get some of that here. All right, so in this live stream, in this tutorial, what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be covering how to get your div height, or get a 100% height div using jQuery. So if this is, this is one of the more annoying things that you might run into as a web developer, is you have a number of divs and you have them within a container, and you want the child divs essentially to be the exact same height as the parent div. So there's a number of different ways that you can do this. There's some CSS solutions and so forth, but I want to cover the jQuery solution because it's really pretty simple to do, and it works really well. So I want to cover that in this particular video. Plus, I've been doing a lot of jQuery tutorials lately, so I'm going to kind of stick on that theme. All right, so let's go ahead and let's switch over to our front end. I'll show you what the problem is, and then we'll dive into the code and the solution. So if we take a look at these divs here, you can see I've added borders to these so you can see what's going on here. And we have our parent div here in red, and then we have our child divs contained within that, and those have a border that is black. Now you can see here that these child divs have completely different heights, and they don't match the container. So this div is essentially what's pushing down the parent, and then this one is just much shorter in here. And so this can become an issue for a number of different reasons. Maybe it has to do, sometimes it has to do with background images or background colors that you're messing with. There's lots of different reasons why you may want this div to be the exact same height as your parent here. It may have something to do with the way that you're floating your columns and so forth. So there's a number of different reasons why you might want to have these match up, but by default, the behavior with your HTML and CSS is not going to do that. So again, like I said, there's a number of different solutions to this. There's CSS and other solutions, but I'm going to show you a jQuery one. All right, so if we jump over to the code here, then you can see that I have a standard kind of page set up here. So I have my doc type, I have my HTML, I have my head, my style tags, I have my styling here. This is just basic styling. Basically, it's to give you the borders. So we do an overflow hidden, so the parent container has a height. By default, it would collapse, but we want to show what's going on here, so I have it set to overflow hidden. I've given it a border of 1 pixel solid red. And then we have the left and right containers. I've given those a border of 1 pixel solid black, and I've floated them. So if we come down here to the HTML, you can see I have my parent div, which is container, and I have 2 child divs left and right, and I have 2 different heights of text essentially within those. All right, so it's all pretty straightforward. There's nothing too fancy about any of this, but again, as we saw with the problem, the 2 child divs have different heights. So how do we get them the same? Well, one of the ways that we can do that here is with jQuery. So we'll go ahead and we'll uncomment out this jQuery here, and then we will pop back over to our front end and we will refresh that. And you can see that now the div on the left has 100% height of the parent. So jQuery fixes it. Now what are we actually doing over here? So let's jump back to our code. And so let's just run through this code. First thing I'm doing is I'm including the jQuery library. Obviously we need to do that. And then this little section right here is essentially kind of how you start off every any jQuery that you're going to write. It just makes sure that everything's loaded properly and that it's ready to be manipulated by the jQuery that you're going to write. All right, so you always wrap it in this jQuery document.ready function. And then the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the height of our container. So we're just creating a variable called container height, and we're setting that equal to, so we're targeting our container here, our container element from our HTML. So the div with the class of container, that's what we're targeting in this bit right here. Okay, so this is how you target inside of jQuery in case you're not familiar with that. And then we're just going to use this jQuery method called height. And what that's going to do is it's going to return the value of the height of that container, so of our parent container. And that's what we want. So we're grabbing the container height and we're storing that as the variable container height, right? Pretty straightforward. And then the next thing that we need to do is then we need to make sure that we set our target divs, our child divs, to the height of the container. Now this is where you could get a little creative. Here I'm just setting both. So you can see I'm targeting left, comma, right. So the left div with the class of left and the div with the class of right. I'm targeting both of those, and in case you don't know, this is how you can target multiple selectors. You just separate them by a comma in jQuery. So I'm targeting both of those, and I'm then setting the height to the height of container height up here that we got. So again, depending on your setup, you may want to set the height of both of these. You may only want to set the height of one of these. Again, depending on exactly what you're doing, then this is where you can get a little creative and change this up a little bit. Now, something I want you to notice here, you'll notice up here when we use the height method and we don't specify any parameter, this will then return the value of what we selected. Whereas down here, we're using the exact same method, height, but now we're passing in a parameter, and now it sets the height of what we've targeted. That's a fairly standard convention in jQuery. A lot of methods that you'll find, if you don't pass a parameter, they return whatever that particular method happens to do. They'll return the value of what you've targeted. Whereas if you set the parameter, oftentimes it will then set what you've targeted to that particular number. All right, so again, this is really simple and really straightforward. You get the height of the parent container right here, and then down here you set the height of the child containers to the value that you got up here for the parent. So that's really all there is to it. It's a pretty straightforward way to handle this. Now again, this isn't the only way. There are different ways to do this inside of CSS and so forth, but I like this way because it's really easy, it's really straightforward, and it's fairly foolproof. This is going to work and be oftentimes a little bit more adaptable than maybe some of the CSS solutions. So that's pretty much it. That wraps it up for this explanation. Now, I want to dive into, see if we have any live questions. We do have a few people on over here, see if there's any live questions or comments that anybody would like to make before I jump off here. Before I do that, I do want to make sure you know that this tutorial, as most of my tutorials, is sponsored by the Ajax and PHP course over on udemy.com. Now, the reason that I recommend this course is because if you're someone who's interested in jQuery, it's going to show you how to take jQuery essentially to the next level. It's going to show you how to interact with a back-end server using Ajax. And so all of the really cool things that you see on sites like Facebook and here on YouTube that allow you to have that interaction, even the comments that you're posting right now on the live stream, all that's done via Ajax. So it's a really, really cool course that's going to show you how to do some really advanced and cool things with jQuery. So you'll see in the description of this video, there's a link to that course. If you're interested in checking it out, just go ahead and click that link and that will get you the best price on that course. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look over here at our comments. So looks like I have Tattletale. Appreciate the comments. A little embarrassing, but appreciate that. Mustafa says, John, you are the best. I appreciate that. I'll hang out for just a few more minutes, see if we have any live questions. Again, like I said, I haven't really advertised this, so we have a few people on, but not a ton here. So hang out here for a little bit more and see if we get any live questions. All right, so if you got value from this tutorial, if you do me a favor, then go ahead and like the tutorial so that I know that this is the kind of stuff that you like. And if you know someone who'd benefit from it, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't mind sharing it with them. Also, let me know about the live stream. If the live stream is something that you'd like me to do more often, or if you would. Yes, I do have a new hairstyle. I was if you've been following me online at all, you know that I was growing my hair out, and then I couldn't take it anymore, so I finally got it cut and cleaned up. So I just couldn't handle it anymore. So I appreciate that. Mustafa says, just want to ask how long it takes me to master JavaScript. Well, I mean, that depends. Obviously, depends where you're at now and how far you want to go with it. As you said, reaching the medium level. I mean, I started getting into JavaScript and jQuery after I had learned PHP. So I had some coding experience. It wasn't the first thing that I tried to learn, and so I had been through kind of some of the ups and downs. Honestly, that's one of the big reasons why I'm always recommending courses, because when I went to learn jQuery, unlike what I did with PHP, where I just tried to learn everything myself, I actually went and took a course, and I was able to get a working knowledge of JavaScript / jQuery within probably a month or two. So, again, that was with all the experience I had with PHP. So it definitely was a lot faster than it took me with PHP. So, but again, if you're just learning JavaScript right off the top, that's your first language, it may take a little bit longer. If you're not, you're kind of doing some of the stuff that I did initially and just really don't want to take any sort of courses or so forth, then, it can take even longer. So, when it comes to mastery, I don't know that anybody ever really has any of this stuff mastered. We're all always learning. I mean, I know guys who are way smarter than me, know way more than me, and there's still things that on a daily basis come up that they're learning. So, it's just an ongoing thing. You really have to commit to a life of learning. So again, going back to the original question, how long does it take? It depends. I would say if you took a course, you could probably get a working knowledge in a couple months. And then from there, it's just how much you use it. Honestly, I don't use JavaScript and jQuery as much. So my ongoing learning from that first course has been a little bit slow, but again, I know enough to be able to get the things done that I need to get done. All right, looks like, let's see if we have any more questions coming in. Looks like we have a few comments. I appreciate the comments, Tattletale. You're cracking me up over here. All right, so it looks like we're out of questions. Again, I'll try to, in the future, as we get this more streamlined, then I'll try to promote these more. We should have a lot more interaction and questions and comments. So again, appreciate you guys watching. Like I said, if you like this, be sure to like the video. If you know anybody who'd benefit from it, then please share it with them. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the live streams or any of the future tutorials that I post. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.